Good morning, children. Today we will do from the first flight the chapter The Sermon at Benares. I know that you are very busy with your periodic test. You carry on with your periodic test, its preparation, but along with that, just watch this video also and keep your pace constant for the preparation of the mock test. Okay, and let us start with the chapter today, the Sermon at Benares. Now, children, what is sermon? Sermon means a talk on religion, on some moral ethics, that is called sermon. Here, the sermon at Benares. Who has given this sermon? It is Gautama Buddha. So, first of all, let us know something about Gautama Buddha. Who is this man? We all know, we have read in history, but it's a brief brush up. And because a man who can give a sermon, definitely he has that capacity, that power to sermonize, that so that people will listen to him. So let us first know about Gautama Buddha in a brief nutshell. Okay. Gautama Buddha, 563 to 483 BC, began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. In northern India, he was born in Lumbini, in Nepal, now in Nepal. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. He was born to the Sakya clan. His father was Suddhadana, King Suddhadana. Mother was Maya Devi. And you know how he was born. There is a very interesting story. Hope you have read in history. If not, please go through it. You will enjoy it. And now here we can see that he got married to a princess named Yashodhara. Later they had a son called Rahul and lived for 10 years. And then after that he lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. That is comfortably as a king, he had a royal lifestyle in the palace. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world. Naturally, he did not know what is suffering called because he was in the palace only. He enjoyed only the palatial life. While one day out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. He found a sick man, got surprised that this is also true for life. Then he found an aged man, never seen that how age can trouble a person. Then a funeral procession, finally death, which is inevitable, he did not know. And then he saw finally a monk begging for alms. That somebody is begging for alms, that was also never known to him, he has never seen. So these sights so moved him, so moved that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed, the pain that he had witnessed, which he came to know that are inevitable of the life. Then he left his palace and went out to find out the truth behind this, get enlightened that how this means why this happens and how that can be overcome. Sorrow he had witnessed, he wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed that tree the Bodhi tree, tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. Now he got enlightened, and after 7 days, and then he began to teach and share his new understandings, what he learned after getting enlightened. And then he started teaching that. At that point, he became known as the Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened. the Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places of the river Ganges, where people usually take holy bath. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable. You can see the meaning suggests that something which cannot be understood. That is the pains or the sufferings that cannot be understood or which our human brain cannot explain. That type of suffering, how he tried to teach us in the sense that sufferings will be there, they are inevitable, they are unescapable, you cannot get rid of that, but you have to learn how to accept this, how to accept the truth that cannot be avoided. That is his preaching or teaching to us. That sermon is exactly given here, that story. Kisa Gautami had an only son. Why he gave that sermon? Kisa Gautami had an only son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses, the boy is dead." Now, Kisa Gautami, after losing her son became almost insane and moved door to door asking people to return back his son's life. People laughed at him. They understood that this lady, not laughed, rather they felt pity that this lady has got insane, that have forgotten that death is sure to come in one's life. Out of pain, she has forgotten. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, "I cannot give thee medicine." Thee means you. "I cannot give you the medicine and for thy child, for your child, but I know a physician who can. But I can suggest one's name who can help you out from this suffering." And the girl said, "Pray tell me, who is it?" Desperate mother asking that you give the name, "I will definitely reach there." And the man replied, "Go to Sakya Muni, the Buddha." He is also called to be Sakya Muni because he belonged to the Sakya clan. So go to Sakya Muni and he will be able to bring you out from that suffering. Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried, "Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. Please help me by giving some medicine." The Buddha answered, "I want a handful of mustard seed." And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, because for her dead son and to revive his life, the lady was ready to go any extent, to do anything, and there the man is asking for only a handful of mustard seeds. It's very simple. She got overjoyed and she was running to procure it and promised that yes, definitely she would bring that. When the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, "The mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend." That mustard seed definitely should be procured from that particular house who has never witnessed a death of any close relative. Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house. She felt that definitely there would be a house, and the mother would somehow definitely would be able to mark out a house when nobody has died and would procure that handful of mustard seed. So poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, "Here is mustard seed, take it." Everybody was ready to offer mustard seed to this lady who is in such suffering of the loss of her son. But when she asked, "Did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family?" They answered her, Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. Then immediately they broke out in tears and said that no, the number of death, the number of living probably are less than the number of deaths. So there are people who have died. Means people means relatives, son, daughter, father, mother, someone very close, and they requested that don't please remind of those deepest griefs. And there was no house but some beloved one has died in it. There was no house where she could manage to get a handful of mustard seed from where nobody has died. Kisagotami became very weary and hopeless, tired and hopeless, and hence sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. By that time, the whole day has passed and it is evening time, and so she felt very tired and sat watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. They were flickering and they were extinguishing. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. Finally, the whole day passed and the night came, and it was evening time. Absolutely darkness came. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. Suddenly, a realization came to Kisagotami that human life is also like this, that at the morning there will be sunlight, sunshine, slowly and slowly in the midday it will be to its peak. Then after that again the graph would come down, it will become towards the evening it will fade, the light will fade, that is the life will fade, and slowly then evening will come and it will totally go off. It will be evening, means dark night, absolutely. Suddenly a realization came that a day can be compared with the human life. That means human life is also like this, that one day a child would be born, slowly and slowly he will grow up, and then slowly again the old age will come and finally it will fade away. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? How full I became, how selfish, that how could I expect that my son, my beloved son would be there, defying all the laws of the human life. Death is common to all. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. If you can surrender selfishness, probably you can that will lead to a person to immortality. That she realized. The Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. That everybody's life is like this. It will be combined with pain, trouble, and for there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. So nobody can avoid dying. Those who have taken birth, they would die one day. Definitely death is to come. We have to accept it. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. This is the life of living beings, where old age would come and one day death would also come. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals when born are always in danger of death. See, think of fruit when it takes birth, when the fruit comes out. The day when it comes out, it knows that one day it will ripe and definitely it will fall, get detached from the plant. It knows it. Same is human life. As soon as a child is born, we know that we are moving each day towards death. Actually, the back calculation starts as soon as somebody is born. So it's better, instead of crying for that, to accept it. It is more intelligent to accept that this cannot be avoided. This is to come. So the day when it will come, let it come. By that time, let us enjoy the life in its true sense. Instead of thinking and crying that one day I will have to die, what will happen when I will die? What will happen when I will die? I don't have to bother. As long as I am alive, it's better to enjoy life in its real sense. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. When the potter makes his vessel, he knows that he is preparing that to break only. The vessel knows that one day I will get broken and there will end my life. But for that, the potter will not make his pottery, will not prepare the bowls. No. So definitely when life is there, death is there. When you are born, you have to die. That is why we are mortals. So is the life of mortals, both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, fools, wise, king, poor, rich, different religion, whatever be, we all have to die. All fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. Of those who overcome by death depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Nobody can help. No, even not a king. Nobody. Even the mother cannot save his son. Mother, the closest to the son, mother can surrender life for her son. There also she fails. She cannot do that. She also has to accept it rather. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off. One side, people, means relatives are going on lamenting, but on the other way, means mortals are dying and they are being taken off. You go on lamenting, you go on crying, then also that cannot be stopped. Nothing can stop the procession of death from life. So one by one, mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So it's better as soon as early you realize it, your life will be smoother. Separation is very painful, no doubt in it. But if we know that this separation is inevitable, that cannot be stopped, if we can raise our thought, if we can attain that wisdom, it will be easier for us only to live. Not from weeping, nor for grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. So, children, that is why it is said that as soon as you realize that life is like this, whenever someone is born, we should remain prepared that he would leave us someday. Separation is inevitable. Whatever, how much close he or she is, we have to get separated. So we would try to make us such wise, we will try so that we can accept these pains easily in our life and make our life smoother. So that Buddha wanted to teach Kissa Gautami, but the condition that she had at that time, she would not be able to accept that. Probably such was not her condition that she would accept it easily, the pain, because such was her mental state with the loss of her son, that if she would be taught, she would not understand or realize it. So Lord Buddha in such a nice way taught, so that the realization comes to her from within. She herself can realize that how much this is true for a mortal. That is Sermon at Benares. Okay, children. So try to understand the chapter. Chapter seems to be very easy. Story seems to be very easy. But when you have to explain such a thought-provoking theme, you have to realize it from within. Then only you can answer the questions from this chapter. Simply Kissa Gautami and the story is not the main theme. The theme is, or how Siddharth was born, or what did he see. This is not. The main theme or main idea is that how nicely you can understand the concept of the chapter. That is, how much you can perceive the idea that what is life. That will help you to answer the questions easily. Try to answer, practice the questions given in the book and read it nicely and do that. Thank you, children.